September 16, 1897, the Winston Prospector, Winston, Montana. Wholesale murder. The massacre last week at Hazleton, Pennsylvania may well be regarded as one of the most lamentable occurrences of this decade. A force of deputies armed to the teeth disgraced the name of American manhood by firing into a procession of 150 ignorant foreigners, killing 21 and wounding 40 others, the total armament of the marching miners consisting of 2 small penknives. Are these deputies descendants of the men who fought at Brandywine and suffered at Valley Forge? It does not appear from the press dispatches that the murdered men were rioting, but that they were simply marching in a quiet and orderly manner along the public highway when Sheriff Martin and his deputies barred the road and opened their deadly fire. That these men were making no fight and offered no resistance seems conclusively proven by the fact that many of them were shot in the back, apparently while fleeing from their murderers. In one interview, Sheriff Martin stated that he was assaulted and gave the order to fire in self-protection. In another, he denied having given the order, claiming that someone else fired a shot which started the murderous fusillade. Which statement is a lie? Probably both. The affair seems to have resulted from the excitement of cowardice coupled with murderous instinct. Had these unfortunates been rioting, destroying property, or threatening personal safety, their fate might be considered as an act of summary justice destined to prove an effective warning to others. But under the circumstances, it has not only furnished an occasion for the vaporings of loud-mouthed anarchists, but has aroused the honest indignation of a million thinking men, to whom anarchy is as foreign as is mercy to the spawn of creation, which serves plutocracy in such affairs. True, the murdered men were classed as, quote, ignorant foreigners, unquote, but they had left their old-fashioned country homes expecting to find personal liberty and industrial freedom, equal and exact justice to all men, in this, quote, land of the free and home of the brave, unquote. They have found the bullets of legalized assassins opposed to their exercise of a fancied right. They had laid aside every semblance of a weapon, thinking that their defenseless condition and the law of the land would protect them on the public roads of America. Their maimed bodies and the bleeding corpses of their comrades have perhaps taught them another lesson. Who is to blame? Not Sheriff Martin and his deputies. The poor fellows became frightened, but the public which allows firearms and legal authority to be placed in the hands of such timorous wretches. But the butchers should be incarcerated in an asylum for dangerous imbeciles until cured of cowardice and murderous propensity. September 1, 1903, Boston Evening Transcript, Boston, Massachusetts. Yukon miners suffering. War Department asked to send relief. Tacoma, Washington, September 1. Captain Perkins, commanding the United States post at Fort Egbert on the Yukon, has wired the Washington Department for authority to send a relief expedition to 200 impoverished miners who started in July on a 500-mile trip through a trackless wilderness from Nazina River in the Copper River Valley to Tanana River, thence to Yukon. Miners hurried into Nazina last spring, only to find that placer prospects there were workable only by hydraulic mining on a large scale. Hearing of a new strike on the Tanana River, they started overland, carrying but small supplies, supposing that provisions could be purchased at several trading posts en route. 3 miners were rescued from starvation by Henry Bratnober, who is exploring the Alaska Mineral Zone for the Rothschilds and London Exploration Company. In a small tent, exhausted, unable to move, and hardly able to speak, he found P.A. Rettig, whose home is at Delano, New York, Willem Krum of Baltimore, and Harry Behrens, who said he lived in New York. For 3 weeks, these men had lived on berries, but finally their strength gave out, and they had lain down to die. They told Bratnober that the trail from Nazina to Tanana was being traversed by 200 men in the same situation as themselves. February 9, 1910, the Wayne County Democrat, Worcester, Ohio. Frightful loss of life. Explosions in mines during 3 days killed nearly 200 workmen. Wednesday, at Los Esperanzas, Mexico, 68 men killed, as many more injured. Tuesday, at Drakesboro, Kentucky, 34 killed, 1 man missing. Monday, at Primero, Colorado, 75 miners slain, many injured. Total dead, 177. Laredo, Texas, February 3rd. One of the greatest disasters in the history of Mexican coal mining, which has heretofore experienced several crushing blows resulting in a tremendous loss of human life, took place Wednesday in the Palau mine at Los Esperanzas, Texas. The toll of human life is 68, while the list of injured numbers nearly as many. The explosion occurred in the number 3 shaft of the coal mine of the Esperanzas Mining Company and is attributed to the ignition of gas from the flame of a miner's cigarette who was smoking contrary to the rules. Rescuers heroically faced death. The miners, consisting principally of Mexicans and Japanese, had assumed their places in the workings shortly after 7 o'clock. About 8:30 o'clock, those at work above ground heard a loud explosion, and almost instantly a vast cloud of dust and smoke shot from the mouth of the shaft. Assistance was immediately forthcoming, and as soon as the air in the shaft could be purified sufficiently to permit rescuers to descend, many volunteers were ready to risk their lives in an endeavor to succor their stricken brothers below. A cage was sent down, followed later by 2 others, all loaded. When the cages descended and the men had made an examination of the first and second levels, everything was found to be intact. Beyond being frightened, the men working in these levels were safe. They were brought to the top as rapidly as the cages could be loaded. Had waged a hopeless fight. The rescue party continued its explorations and went down to the 3rd level. As soon as the air could be sufficiently cleared, they entered the various shafts and began a search for the dead. Scattered about in various positions in the workings, they found the bodies of the men, suffocated, their faces indicating in many instances the hopeless fight they had waged.